What's going on, family? We're about to get this thing started. We're going to be talking in a few minutes. Welcome. Make sure you're smashing up the likes, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have too much we're going to except for one topic I'm going to be talking about today. So make sure you're smashing up the likes, share, and subscribe button. That's the only way we can fight the YouTube algorithm. Welcome all my people from Rumble, YouTube, ScrewTube, I should say, Facebook, and X. This is Random Topic Sundays, ladies and gentlemen, and we're discussing a matter of, we call it different strokes for different folks. We're going to be talking about that fatal, well, I got to be careful with my words. We're going to be talking about that tragic incident that occurred out in Texas this past week. So make sure we're smashing up the likes. I'm about to get on the screen right about now. How we doing, family? Welcome to another edition of Random Topics. All my people, welcome. Gotta make sure other people know about the channel, so hold up a second. We are live. Come on. All right. I'm about to get this thing started. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get the post going. Welcome all you. Welcome everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and get started right now. Hope everybody is having a great weekend. My weekend has been okay. I say just okay. We had a great show last night. I had the April Fool's comedy show. I was present. I wasn't able to perform last night, or I had a show actually today. I was supposed to be doing over at Uncle Matt's tonight. I was headlining, and I ended up fracturing my foot this past Thursday. So my foot, if y'all could see it, it's like a damn one big sausage link right now. It's real swollen. So I'm trying not to do too much movement on it. It's not as bad as it looks. It's not hurting or anything like that or broken, but I've just have to rest it, and it's just the inconvenience that I have. It actually is starting to feel a little bit better than what it was, but it's sore. So, yeah, just make sure y'all don't ever step in potholes like I did. And unfortunately, New Orleans, we're full of them. So we're going to go ahead and get this started, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure, again, you're hitting that like, share, and subscribe button. Also, if you love me for my time, you can drop something. Pay me for my time. You can drop something in the Cash App, the PayPal or Zelle ticker at the bottom if you like. But we're going to be talking about what's going on in Texas. I'm sure many of you have been hearing this story. It's going viral. There was, unfortunately, a fatal altercation between two high school students. The victim the alleged victim in the case is Austin Metcalf, a 17-year-old, white 17-year-old 11th grader at Frisco Memorial High School. And another young man by the name of Karmelo Anthony, a student at Frisco Centennial High School, so two different schools, who has been charged with first-degree murder, according to the police. The official report says that the incident happened on Wednesday morning. It was raining that day, and allegedly, Mr. Anthony who's 17 years old himself, was positioned under a tent that I believe was with the Frisco Memorial High School when Austin Metcalf allegedly told him to move away from him and from the on being under the tent. Now, from there, where the story gets murky is they're saying that uh, Mr. Anthony allegedly told Mr. Metcalf that, or young Metcalf, both of them, these are, and I say Mr., but these are all kids. He told me, touch me and find out. And allegedly, and when he did that, Mr. Metcalf supposedly pushed Mr. Anthony, where he went inside his bag and grabbed the knife, and the rest is history. I'm going to play a video that's courtesy of, I even hate, well, I play a video courtesy of Court TV just on this case. ABC News also has something on this story, but I'll go ahead and play this right quick for you all. Hold on.
All right, many of us saw that viral track meet moment, and now there's another one with much more dire circumstances. The family of a boy who was stabbed to death at a Texas track meet is speaking out against what they're calling a senseless incident. Boy, is it ever. 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony, spelled with a K, was charged with first-degree murder. Police say he stabbed Austin Metcalf after an altercation during a high school track meet just north of Dallas. The twin brother of 17-year-old, the victim here, tried to save his brother, but the Metcalf say Austin died in his twin brother's arms at the track meet. The surviving brother and mother spoke to ABC.
I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I was trying to, now look at my brother, and I'm not going to talk about the rest. So just that's what I saw. And I tried to help him.
He was the most amazing kid. Oh, so smart. He had college football guys looking at him to play in college just because the kid was mad. My son is not here anymore, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, we're asking, well, what can be learned from this? Nothing. It's an unprecedented stabbing according to the school district. It's a just difficult case all the way around. Let's bring in our guests. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor David Bruno still with us. Joe Tamburino is with us, and retired NYPD detective Mike Alcazar also joining the conversation. Joe, this is a one of those just head shakers. And there's really nothing you can say. There seems to be ample evidence against this young man. And of course, these are allegations now. But your overall thoughts about this disturbing case?
Good morning, Ted. Thank you for having me on. Yes, it's extremely tragic. And I think some of the initial statements by the victim's family ring true. I mean, this person, Karmelo, why was he bringing a knife to a football game? Why are you bringing a knife to sit in the bleachers, to watch a football game, enjoy yourself? I mean, what was going on with this person?
Okay, now this is my first time even watching this video, but I can tell even by listening to it that this attorney and this host are biased. It's evident. Now, this is a defense attorney. Now, you say, why does he have a knife? Well, let's not forget. Now, yes, this is a 17-year-old. Why are they carrying this? But we know if you live in the South, especially you live in Texas, they say don't mess with Texas. There's a reason behind that, because Texas is pro 2A all the way. Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, we are known as in the South, especially, we love our weapons. Now, this is at a track meet. This was supposedly, it was raining that day, which is why Karmelo was supposedly underneath the tent, the pop-up tent that they had constructed. And one of the things that they've talked about, I'm going to finish the video. They talked about how he had no, this is reserve seating. They have no right to be there and such and such. That's a lot of bullshit. And I'll just say this, and I don't have to be at the track meet to know that. And I say that because if you've ever gone to any high school event or anything like that, like for instance, the big stadium we have, Tad Gormley Stadium, which St. Aug plays at, that's open seating. As long as you have a ticket, you could seat anywhere. But nevertheless, now I wasn't there. We don't know this. And these guys are talking about it like it's the truth. These are allegations. They have not been proven in court yet. Yes, is it a tragic situation? I would agree. But we don't know if these two had interactions with each other. We don't know if Mr. Karmelo, and I'm just paraphrasing. Yes, it could be how they're explaining it, that this kid was just a thug who just went ahead and stabbed this another young man for no apparent reason, or who knows and say if they had history, he had been bullied by this person. We don't know. Did they know each other? What was their relationship? Had there been reports or incidents in the past between us? So that's something that's going to come out at trial, at court. But let's finish the video.
I think it's another example of people just resorting to violence first, rather than trying to discuss differences. But I think the victims' families, they're asking the right question, which is, what is going on with this individual who's accused of murdering the young man?
Mike, you've seen a lot in your days in NYPD. Are things getting worse, or are we just hearing about these types of crimes more often and through social media, et cetera?
I mean, I hope it's not getting worse. I've seen lots of cases like this. I have a similar case that investigated happened where two young men collided and one had a knife. So the problem is that when people bring weapons to like an event like this or just carry a weapon, there's no cooling off period. So yeah, words are not enough, and it's a crime of passion. And unfortunately, this young man died because of this. And, you know, it reminds me of my grandson who also plays football around the same age. And I always tell him, be careful who you're having an argument with or you're having a fight with. You never know what they're carrying, unfortunately. So I really feel for the family. It's very close to home when something like this happens.
Yeah, I mean, this was a track meet. He was a football player as well at a 4.0. David, on the other side of things, the defendant to be here, he's a young man, had that weapon, but also probably had a mind that couldn't deal with whatever was happening there, the beef, I guess, that he had. As a defense attorney, how would you approach defending this young man?
Well, first question in the legal system is going to be, is he going to be treated as a juvenile or an adult?
Correct.
The accused is 17 years old. So that starts in juvenile court, and prosecutors are going to have to evaluate whether or not to treat him as an adult. So as a defense attorney, you want to come in and provide a background, mitigation. Maybe he's got treatment records, mental health issues. What's the family situation? Has the Child Protection Services been involved in this family's life? There are a number of things that could be done to look at background to try to keep it in the juvenile system versus the adult system. And I'm a Joe. Why in the world is a student having a knife at a track meet? I mean, this was.
I understand that wholeheartedly. Why, as a student, and we got to analyze that, why does this kid have a weapon at a track meet? Can we think of a reason why? What are the adults in Mr. Anthony's life? What are in Master Anthony's life? Karmelo, that's what they call young, you know, as y'all know the saying, Master Gavin or Master. When I was a little kid, they call the boys Master, like Jeffrey from the Fresh Prince. Master Gavin, Master Carlton, Master Will, all of those things. So these are two 17-year-olds. Why? Yes. Why does he have a weapon? Why does he have a knife? We have to ask that. What are the adults in his life doing? Well, can we see? Don't we know from the facts of what we've seen, the reputation, especially of adults in the world today, what we're doing with guns and so forth? Now, they're asking, why does Karmelo have a knife? I got a question. What was Kyle Rittenhouse doing with a firearm, with a rifle? Kyle Rittenhouse went across two state lines during the protest.
This was 10 o'clock in the morning at a track meet where there was an altercation. And certainly if he has a weapon at a place he's not supposed to, he's not going to be able to use self-defense as the aggressor either. So those are some initial legal issues that I've identified.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he says, now wait, he says at a place he's not supposed to be at. How do you know he's not supposed to be there? You don't know that. Now already they said he's got to have to legal issues. He's going to have his. Why is he bringing a knife in a place already? He can't claim an aggressor because it's in a place he had no business being to. Excuse me? He could have been an athlete. He could have either been an athlete in the track meet. He could have been on the team. He could have been a towel boy for all we freaking know. Who's to say he didn't have a right to be there? He could have had a ticket. Well, they don't give them tickets, but if you were a student, unless his team was racing, his high school was probably racing against that high school, from all I knew, against each other. And if that was the case, he has a right to be there. See, I don't know all the facts of the case. And yes, those are questions we got to ask. Why is this kid carrying a knife? Why is he there? But one thing these men never stated, and as you listen to this, as we were talking about this with the accused, they never stated that Karmelo Anthony is presumed innocent until he's proven guilty. not guilty until proven innocent. And unfortunately, that is what happens with young black men in our judicial system, where there is a crime that happens, and especially when the victim is a white male or even a white woman, or even worse, a white woman. There is a presumption that that black person has to prove their innocence rather than the state prove the guilt, because that is the legal presumption in the United States. It is that the burden is on the state to prove that this person did the actual crime that is in the bill of information. Now, if you're asserting self-defense, a defense attorney must, and this is documented, they have to put on their defense. Basically, they have to put on testimony and witnesses or evidence of some kind to show self-defense. Yes, especially if you're claiming.
Well, it's a very difficult one, because both of them, one is dead, as you heard from the mom. I mean, sounded like a wonderful kid, and then the other 17-year-old is likely going to be spending most of his days in prison if indeed he's found guilty.
Right, you don't know that. They don't know this. Now, yes, according to the police reports, he admitted, yes, I stabbed him. But also, he asked, if you listen carefully, he had asked if from the reports, he asked how Austin was doing. He also said and asked the police officers, and this came out, whether it was would it be classified as self-defense. He admitted, yes, I did this. He said, I had to protect myself. This is what's being reported by Black Star News out in Atlanta. They have 30 eyewitnesses. That's correct. Most people in Texas carry weapons. Correct. They carry. I was protecting myself. This is Atlanta Black Star. I said Black Star News. Excuse me. They've started a GoFundMe page for both. There's a GoFundMe page that's been started for the Metcalf family and one for Karmelo Anthony. So they say here, the 17-year-old Memorial High School student Austin Metcalf told 16-year-old, now he's younger than Karmelo, than Austin Metcalf, to move from under his team's tent, according to police records cited by the Dallas Morning News. Anthony had no business being there, but appeared to take offense. He opened his bag and put his hand inside before allegedly warning Metcalf, touch me and see what happens. Witnesses would tell authorities later. Metcalf refused to back down and then called Anthony's bluff by lightly touching him. However, witnesses say Anthony didn't make a move right away. Instead, he challenged Metcalf to a fight, to settle the matter, and then and there. That's when Metcalf reportedly grabbed Anthony to force him out of the tent. Seconds later, a knife plunged into Metcalf's chest. He stumbled backward, clutching his bleeding wound. I won't go into detail, and you see there. So they leave details out. If you notice what we saw on court TV and what you hear on the report, there were two different stories. So the way they made it sound like he said, touch me and find out, pulled out the knife, and then fatally wounded Austin. But what they're saying is there was a fight initially. Now, we're going to have to find out why he was under that tent, what happened, and so forth. How we don't know he wasn't called over there. He probably was walking around when it was raining and just went under there as until the rain stopped, according to that. There was a downpour from what I read in the article. Now, they have to interview all of the witnesses and what they saw, and if there were any witnesses to his defense. But from what this report is stating, they're saying that a fight occurred after Mr. Metcalf pushed Karmelo Anthony. Now, is there a self-defense claim? Which is why he was asking if there's a self-defense claim. Now, I have to say this because I'm not licensed in Texas, so I'm not a Texan attorney. However, I'm well aware of stand your ground laws, and most of the time in these states, the self-defense statutes, they are similar. And Texas is a stand your ground state. And stand your ground, of course, we know that because that came up with the George Zimmerman matter. When Zimmerman supposedly was trying to say the reason why they were trying to defend Zimmerman before he even was brought to trial, because remember, it was the black press. When black press, at least that was a tail end of black press, because that's when they were at least relevant at that time, old black media. They came out in favor of Trayvon. They wanted to get get down to the bottom of it. We wanted to get down to the bottom of it, and it was independent black people, black news that was bringing that back out. That was bringing that story relevant, because he making it relevant because the national media ignored it. So you read further in the article. I'm going to show the self-defense statute in a second, but according to a family member of Anthony's, Kevin Hayes, his relatives have defended his actions, suggesting the previous rivalry may have sparked tensions between him and Metcalf. He stated Anthony is a respected, well-mannered young man and a 4.0 student with multiple college offers. He says officers here, that's got to be a typo. He had no criminal history. He defended himself against violent aggressors. He described the kid and his twin brothers as bullies. Allegedly, they tried to jump him, took Anthony's belongings, broke his phone, and stomped it. The truth about Karmelo Anthony, let's set the record straight. They say no student has a right. Well, let's go by number one. I'm reading. Sometimes I read different topics out of order. I'm going to read them in order. He says, enough with the misinformation. Let's talk about the facts. It's normal for students from different schools to gather under another school's tent. Karmelo had friends there. He wasn't trespassing or looking for trouble. The claim that one of the twins had never seen Karmelo before is a blatant lie. No student has the right to remove another from a school-owned tent. The school owns the tent, not the twins. Now that part, let me just stop right there. Try to remove, and that's another thing. They said he tried to remove Karmelo from the school tent. If he is a student, he is not an officer of the school. You're a student. Now, he has no authority. He's not a cop. If someone is trespassing on something, it has to come usually from a representative or manager. Let's say you go to Walmart and Walmart knows that you're a known thief. They may have loss prevention come out and get you and issue a warning or call the police saying they want this person trespass. That's how that happens. Now, when you're talking about him being under the tent, he's not a cop. He's not a school official. He's just a student. What right would he, if he's telling him to leave, and I'm just saying, and I wasn't there, but to put his hands on the young man? What right do you have to put your hands on him? You don't want him by your tent? Okay, tell the coach. Tell the adults that are right there. You don't take matters into your own hands. They say F around and fight, and that's a hard rule. Yeah, you touch somebody, they always say keep your hands to yourself for a reason. Of course, I don't think it's something that has to be. Do I think in Gavin Richard's mind that needs to go where two young people are fighting to the death? No, of course not. Not this situation. It wasn't that serious. But if you're talking about a fight that took place and someone was scared, where based off what they're allegedly saying, we weren't there. Of course, we get to the bottom of it later. The courts will. If we're talking about the point that a fight ensues before the stabbing, where they're taking his property or he's being jumped, is what this man is saying, Mr. Hayes, then it changes things. He's saying here, if you read further in this post, he's claiming that the twin brothers are bullies. He said they tried to jump him. They didn't ask him to leave. Before attacking him, they're saying they took his belongings. They broke his phone. They stomped on it. They said, ask yourself, if two 200-pound attackers came at your child, what would you expect them to do? And yet, despite everything, the media is trying to destroy Karmelo's name. They keep posting a picture of him with an airsoft gun, not even a real firearm, to manipulate public perception. Why? Because they want to paint him as a criminal instead of a victim. Let's talk about Karmelo. Well, this is the stuff I've mentioned. They're saying he's a 4.0 honor student, Kid with zero criminal history, well respected, a respected, well mannered young man, a son raised in a loving home by parents who taught him right from wrong. Now, the police, they say, haven't corroborated this account, and the police probably won't corroborate this account because they're claiming, especially from the media and national perspective, that Austin is the victim. Now, and he may very well be. He's the one that has been killed, unfortunately, tragically. And this, of course, his father, his mother have been on the media, his brother. Uh, this is going to, of course, be making the runs everywhere. This is going to be everybody, especially we're looking at it. We see the situation with Daniel Penny, how he got off with choking the man out in New York, what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse in Wisconsin. And then, of course, we got the situations, George Zimmerman, Tamir Rice, and others. Now, we're looking at it to see what is the perception out of we're calling out the bias from the media actually now, because when different people are claiming stand your ground, it looks like stand your ground only applies to one person, and it depends on how different you look. That's what Black America, that's what New Black Media and people on X are calling out. Now, I wasn't there. I've been to Frisco. I've been through Frisco. I've passed through. That's like a little bit north of Dallas. I have cousins that stay in Fort Worth, so I've been through that area. Yeah, Fort Worth. I'm gonna just tell you, Dallas and Fort Worth compared to New Orleans, that's heaven. We don't. New Orleans doesn't have a lot of stuff here, unfortunately, but it's loaded with a lot of businesses, a lot of office space, a lot of entertainment complexes. I give it credit where credit is due. And so what Black people are looking at, especially, is the fact that we've seen several situations where Black men have been attacked by white vigilantes, and those white vigilantes go to court. They get found not guilty because they say it was self-defense or defense of others, stand your ground, whatever. When Black people do it, it's the opposite, which is what the point that a lot of people are making here. And look, I feel terrible that this happened. I don't want to see. I'm a decent human being. I value myself like that. I may be pro-Black, yes, but I don't think anybody on here wants to see someone's life taken, whether they're white, Black, brown, green, whatever. I don't like that. And I hate the fact that these are teenagers. But I know Texas. Like I say, they say don't mess with Texas. Now, the father said he forgives the young man already. And they raised 200. If he's talking about the GoFundMe, they raised Jeff Metcalf. A GoFundMe page was started by Kyrie Orders, who's the owner of Hallow Pizzeria in Frisco, where Austin worked part-time with his mother and his twin brother Hunter. And they've raised nearly $250,000. He says, money will never bring my son back, but I need to take care of what's left and his twin brother. Metcalf also expressed disappointment over social media users turning his son's death into a platform for political or racial debate, calling it disheartening. He says, this is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on their soapbox trying to politicize this. Unless you were there and you saw it, don't spread gossip, Metcalf said. In response to Anthony's self-defense claim, Metcalf expressed belief, stating he couldn't understand how a simple request to move at a school track meet could justify stabbing someone. If you're caught, the best thing you're going to do is lie your way out of it. The truth will come out. There were too many people there who saw what happened. Well, it is not surprising. I'm not going to go back and forth with a grieving father. I wasn't there. Yeah, I wasn't there. So, no, I don't know what happened. But That's why we have in our justice system the presumption of innocence. That's why that rule of law was added. It's because a person, especially when we're talking about losing your rights, when you're talking about losing your freedom, we have to make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. We have to make sure that everything is done thoroughly, that there's a full investigation and it's not biased. And we get to the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You have to get to the bottom of these things. And yeah, oh, I know Texas, how they treat black folk. So do I think stand your ground is going to apply for, and how are they going to treat stand your ground when his attorneys raise this? That's going to be interesting. So self-defense, according to Texas Penal Code here in section 9.31, it states that a person is justified in using force against another when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the force is immediately necessary to protect the actor against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force. The actor's belief that the force was immediately necessary as described by this subsection is presumed to be reasonable if the actor knew or had reason to believe that the person against whom the force was used, it says here, unlawfully and with force entered or was attempting to enter unlawfully and with force the actor's occupied habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. Well, of course, that's not the case here. If they're trying to remove the actor from the actor's habilitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment, or was committing or attempting to commit an aggravated kidnapping, SA murder, aggravated SA robbery, or aggravated robbery, did not provoke the person against whom the force was used, and was otherwise engaged in criminal activity other than a Class C misdemeanor that is a violation of law or ordinance regulating traffic at the time of the force. So now they also state that the use of force against another is not justified in response to verbal provocation alone. So that means if it is a just words or anything like that, that's not enough. But if there's force used, well, that's what it seems to be where you can claim self-defense. Now, what they say, justification. The use of deadly force is not justified under subsection unless the actor reasonably believes that deadly force is specifically required by statute or unless it occurs in a lawful conduct of war. If deadly force is so justified, there's no duty to retreat before using it. That means that that is stand your ground. You don't have a duty to retreat if you were justified in using the force that was necessary. Now, that's what they're talking about, justification. So the call of the question, it would all have to be whether or not this was reasonable. That's what self-defense. So we have to look at the law. If you reasonably believe the force is immediately necessary to protect against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force. Now, when I read that and I compare it, let's say with hold on a second, I'm sorry. So when I'm reading this does not necessarily say that you have to be an immediate. Now, it does not state that you have to be in immediate danger of losing your life as well. It just says that self-defense is using force against another when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the force is immediately necessary to protect against the actor's use or attempted use of unlawful force. So now the laws are different in each state. So for instance, in Louisiana, now I'm going to read to you what Louisiana law says on self-defense. And what that says here with justifiable homicide, it states, quote, and I'm going to read this to you. This is revised statute 1420. So we compare both of them. Now, this is Texas, but I'm going to show you Louisiana law. So it's committed in self-defense by one who reasonably believes he is in imminent danger of losing his life or let me rephrase it. I'm tongue-tied. If you believe you're in imminent danger of losing his life or losing your life or of receiving great bodily harm and that the killing is necessary to save yourself from the danger. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, of course, a classic example, someone breaks into your home late at night, you with your wife and kids, you have a forcible break-in and you pull out your your Glock 43, and you kill the person who breaks into your home, then that can be considered, that would be an example of self-defense. And that is also part of something we call the castle doctrine, because it comes from English law, which states that a man's home is his what? Castle. So that's why we say castle doctrine. Now, of course, this is not a castle doctrine matter because there's no home here. However, what we say stand your ground, especially in Louisiana, that means that you have, and this is where it's at right here. When when someone is in a place, they have a lawful right to be in. So that can be walking down the street. It could be walking on the sidewalk late at night. It's a public sidewalk. You haven't committed a crime or anything, and you have a right to do that. You don't have a duty to retreat. And it says here in paragraph C, a person who is not engaged in unlawful activity and who is in a place where he or she has a right to be shall have no duty to retreat before using deadly force as provided for in this section, and may stand his or her ground and meet with force. No finder of fact, this is paragraph D, shall be permitted to consider the possibility of retreat as a factor in determining whether or not the person who used deadly force had a reasonable belief that deadly force was reasonable and apparently necessary to prevent a violent or forcible felony involving a life or great bodily harm or to prevent the unlawful injury. So there is no duty to retreat in Louisiana. And you mentioned 809, you mentioned can a size differential of the other actor be considered a factor in imminent danger? You know something? That is, you are correct. Yes. That's a good question. In some circumstances, it can be, depends on the lawyer and the defense they're making. It can be a situation. Of course, I've raised that in self-defense case before. An argument that I made, it wasn't serious like this, but I'll tell you, it's a funny story. I was representing a woman, an elderly woman who never had any criminal history, except maybe one time, but it was years ago, which she was acquitted for, or the case was dismissed on. And she was charged, in this case, I was representing her, a battery of her neighbor. She was basically accused of assaulting her neighbor after he put a leaf blower in her face. And yeah, that's the actual facts. And the neighbor put the leaf blower in her face. She was complaining about him blowing leaves on her property. They had been feuding. And he blew it in her face, and she hauled off and hit him with a three-piece combo. They both called 911. And, of course, she admits he hits him. The cops get there. They, instead of charging him also with an assault, because by putting that leaf blower in her face, he assaulted her, they issued a citation for her. Now, she got charged with it. And the prosecutors, of course, they wanted to waste our time with this case. But Yeah, that was the case that I had. So I had to use essentially, she's in her 60s, he's in his 30s. So he's a little bit younger and yeah, he's obviously taller than this woman. So he also had his cousins that was there. So those were factors that I raised. Honestly, I didn't have to really raise anything per se in the questions, other than she admits that he put the leaf blower in her face and the guy got caught lying. So long story short, I got an acquittal out of the case. But yes, the size differential does play a factor. Something else that they try to play that could play a factor in it too is the criminal history, or not even the criminal history, but if the victim has a history of violence, because you can raise that as well. If they're able to show, and we don't know this for a fact, I don't want to speculate, and I agree with the father on that. We shouldn't speculate on things if we don't know all the answers and facts. I don't. But if there is some type of history, let's just say for the sake of argument that there is, if there was a history of bullying, if there was a previous history where they interacted with each other and he assaulted one or the other, may have assaulted each other, they can bring that in, because they can do this against a defendant. You don't have to be convicted of a crime if you show that you're trying to show obviously motive, opportunity, knowledge of some sorts. As a prosecutor, you can bring up a defendant's prior criminal bad acts, or it doesn't even have to be criminal, what they call prior bad acts. Now, you can also bring up stuff on a victim in a self-defense claim, because when Cardell Hayes here in New Orleans was accused of killing Will Smith and he was arguing self-defense, I know John Fuller, who was the attorney, they were trying to bring up a past incident of Will Smith. I believe it was a domestic, it could have been, I believe it was a domestic violence incident that he had. Now, Cardell ended up getting a manslaughter charge on that one. But I think and Will Smith was shot, of course, and there was also alcohol that was involved in that situation. So, yeah, that was a very big case down here. That was in 2017, I believe. Yeah. But anyway, this is the Louisiana statute. So different law, obviously, different fact pattern, different circumstances. Now, they're going to have to apply Texas law. And we stated Texas is a we know is Texas is a stand your ground state. Now, you can just Google here. When I look up Texas stand your ground, AI pops up. What they talk about, the castle doctrine, which allows individuals to use force, which is what I explained, in self-defense without a duty to retreat. Texas law states that you have no duty to retreat if you reasonably believe you're in an imminent danger and you can use force or even deadly force to protect yourself. You have to be in a place where you have a right to be, meaning you're not trespassing or engaging in criminal activity. Now, they're trying to make this argument about he was under the tent being there. We don't know why he was under the tent. Yes, I remember that. His friends, Will Smith's friends, were they actually were the culprits in that situation too, because they were egging stuff on. They were egging everything on. They were part of that. You have to reasonable belief of danger. Now, the use of force, they say the force used must be proportionate to the threat. Protection of others, castle doctrine. Now, of course, if you're the aggressor, you can't claim self-defense or engaged in criminal activity. So I guess what they're going to say, the prosecutors are going to say, is that Karmelo had no right being there. He was either trespassing when asked to leave, or He had no business being there, but this is a track meet. So if he was a student, and especially a student for the other team, he obviously had an ID there. He had a right to be there. Now he's on the other side under this tent. He doesn't. Here's the thing: Metcalf, to our knowledge, doesn't own the tent. Nothing has come out about it. Of course, we're going to wait for all the facts to come out, but then again, we'll wait for the facts to come out. But then again, it's not stopping them from speculating and running this like it's the gospel. So you even go to the law center here, Giffords Law Center. They say Texas has a stand your ground law, which removes the duty to retreat. So that's what stand your ground means. It means you don't have a duty to retreat, essentially. You have no duty to retreat. So some states, like New York, for instance, if you go to New York, I believe they require you before you kill someone, and I think even in your own home, you have to retreat first. You can't just. I could be wrong, but someone correct me on the East. It's one of those liberal states. It's one of them. It's to either New York or California. I believe it is New York. You have to actually wait and give them an opportunity to leave. You have to retreat first. You have to go in hiding. You can't just open fire. Versus if you're in Louisiana, however, I can do that. You bring in my house, I can, yes, I'm legally allowed to do that. I don't have to retreat. You're probably right. Yeah, California, I think, yeah. That's nuts. Look up the New York self-defense law. Yeah. They're saying it's justified when you reasonably believe it's necessary to defend yourself or others from imminent use of unlawful physical force, but with a duty to retreat if safe to do so, unless your home or facing certain crimes like kidnapping, rape, or robbery. So, well, okay, so not in your home, but if you're on the street, you got to leave first. You got to run first. That's still crazy. That's still crazy. I still don't like it. If I'm walking down the street and I tell someone, here's the thing. Yeah, I can run to safety, but what if it's like, what if you're like Jonathan Majors and she's chasing after you? So according to this, now interesting, they're saying California is a stand your ground state. But I think do you have to be in your home in order to do that? I'm not licensed in California. I don't know. Hold on. Every law is different how they write these, by the way. And that's the key. You have to look at the language of the law and how it's written. So California is stand your ground according to Wikipedia. And you see this big map. The darker green colors are the ones that are stand your ground by statute, meaning it's enshrined in law. So we say in the South, like I said, we love our guns. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Virginia, the Carolinas, yeah. Stand your ground by statute. If you're in the darker blue, that means you got a duty to retreat except in your home. So what if I'm in my hotel room and someone's breaking in? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Tennessee. So look, I'm interested in seeing more about this case. I know some. I'm hoping this young brother gets a lawyer, a high profile, a great criminal defense lawyer at that. He's going to need one. So I see why the family has raised money for him. They started a GoFundMe page. He's in jail on bond of $1 million, which means he has to pay at least 10 to 12% of that. I'm going to actually see if we can get. Looks like, did they remove it? Oh, they took down a GoFundMe page for him. I'm just looking here. It looks like they removed it. They had raised $60,000. So they raised the GoFundMe for him. Because his bond is at 1 million. But as I looked right here on GoFundMe's page, it's not there. When I clicked on the link. So if I look up Austin Metcalf, let's see what happens. $248,000. Over $248,000 has been raised for Austin Metcalf to help his family. And there was another one that was set up by Carry Orders, which has raised $102,000. So this is his father, who's managed to raise $248,000. But if you look up Karmelo, yeah, it's gone. That's interesting. That is interesting because I've been seeing he has a new. So what's the new fundraiser page? You're just looking at it. What's the name of it? Because if it's associated with name, all you have to do is just search it in the box and it would pop up. Well, I tried it several times and it didn't. So I'm interested in learning a little bit more about this case, man. I like to wait for the facts to come out, but of course I saw Jason from what Tim Black, the brother Tim Black from Tim Black TV was saying, Jason Whitlock was already doing low-key cooning in favor against Karmelo Anthony. Well, I ain't even low-key, it is. I didn't see that. That's what Tim Black was saying about it, but just what they do. Because he's over there at the Blaze. So whenever white folks do something, especially something egregious, similar, he's got nothing to say. When it's black people that are accused of it, he's going to go all out. It's a damn shame. But anyway, y'all, we're going to wrap this thing up here. We had a great time last night at the verdict. Always, we had a great crowd that came out. We had an excellent night. Shout out to all comedians performing from BWP, Wayne Ransom, Ruffin Jokes. My headliner was Tim Black out of Atlanta. Very good brother. We had an awesome time. I had friends and cousins come by who've been dying to come out to see one of my shows I produced and promoted and hadn't seen me. So I'm grateful that they came out. Yeah, I just wish it could have been under better circumstances. Yeah, Ham Hock, I'm waiting for. I wonder what roll it. Beep. You stuck on stupid. Roland might actually do good commenting on this because Roland is a broken clock. Even though he's one of those he's a broken clock. He's like that bird that comes out even at late at night when you're sleeping and shit and just bothers you. Beep, beep, beep. Time to get up, you Simon Soup. You Simon Stupid. You stuck on Stupid Simons. Time to get up. Give me beep home with a where the buffalo roam. Stupid. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, Jason Hamhocks. I think he's never liked a black person that can walk up a flight of stairs without breathing hard. He's Corey Holcomb said once. Corey Holcomb once said Jason he had to give Jason Whitlock a ride, and he said he could swear whenever he was walking, he heard that Incredible Hulk theme from the '80s show with Bill Bixby, The Lonely Man. do 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 do. Ah. Well, that's in his neck of the woods because Roland is from, I know he's from Texas. If he's not going to touch it, we're touching on it. I like to see, hopefully Tariq Nasheed is going to talk about it. I wonder if Tariq is going to give anything to his legal funds. I hope he has. A lot of people can't, he needs a lawyer. He needs he needs a great criminal defense lawyer down there that's going to help him out. Now, as a public defender myself, a lot of people disparage public defenders. I can tell you that public defenders do an outstanding job with these things as well. We're some of the hardest working. We work harder than the prosecutors, and we can outwork them. We're capable of getting not guilty. A lot of people sleep on the PD's office. And you know why they do that is because they see that a lot of, first off, only about 20%, not even 20%, probably a little less than that, of cases go to trial. And the reason why there are plea deals usually offered is because to prevent the risk of, let's just say, going to prison, going to jail, paying heavy fines and costs, people will just go ahead and plead to like a lesser offense if it means they're going to see the light of day, or if they could just pay a fine and that'll be the end of it where they're not coming back to court. That's why a lot of people plead and go home. That's it. That's why you see a lot of plea deals happening. It's not, now they got some who don't do their jobs. Yeah, they're just trying to get in and get out of there. But there are some cases legitimately you got to look at. Yeah, I had to try, even though they were stupid. I hated the prosecutor's office for even bringing this stuff up, like the leaf blower case. I had to still try it. So, givesendgo.com. So, okay. But originally it was on GoFundMe. It was on GoFundMe per the article that I saw on Atlanta Star News. Okay, so he's raised actually, yeah, $105,590. So I see the website here. It was raining and you need to cover. Some people are commenting on it. So it was raining, which is why he was under there. So, yeah. So he actually what likely is going to happen. That's probably going to be enough to get him out on a bond. If it's $1 million bond, yeah, you pay like 10 to 12% of that. So they're trying to raise that for him and probably also to get a defense lawyer. But yeah, Y'all will be safe and be blessed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I've been on a little bit longer than I expected. So if you love me for my time, play me for my time. Drop something in the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. Shout out to Jababa out of Pennsylvania. Shout out to Derek, Danielle. I'm actually supposed to be out your way April 16th, Danielle. I think I'm doing that show out in Houma. So make sure you come out. Yeah, hopefully my ankle is not as swollen next time. So yeah, I have to prop it up. Y'all saw that. All right, y'all. Y'all be safe, okay? Love y'all. Be one, be safe, family. We'll keep monitoring this story. Like I say, pray for the truth to come out, whether what happened. I'm sad for both. I'm sad for both families, of course. Mr. Metcalf lost a son. I don't know what that is like. It's not something I would wish on my worst enemy. But this young man, Mr. Anthony, is also presumed innocent, and I think we ought to wait until the facts come out. So that's my 2 cents on it. Y'all be safe and be blessed, family. I'll holla. I'll let you know more, Danielle, about that. Peace. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.